Bird! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey, everybody. Well, it's over, right? The Super Bowl's over. Well, like I said last week, I'm not a big sports fan. In another 3 weeks, if you see me at Pheasant Fest and say, Ron, who won the Super Bowl? I'll be like, I won't remember, so I don't care. Valentine's Day's over. Hope you all skated by there. I did, because at our age, we just say good morning, and that's like Valentine's Day every day for 40 years. But the title sponsor of this show is going to be putting on an after party at Pheasant Fest like they've done for the last 3 years, and it's a hootenanny all on its own. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on before and during Pheasant Fest, but one of the things not to miss is the Onyx after party. So they not only take care of you while you're hunting, while you're driving, while you're hiking, while you're fishing, they're also going to take care of you at Pheasant Fest. I mean, they had free beer. Now, not all night free beer, but they had coupons for free beer, free Leinenkugel. And I have the inside track on that, and I think that's the case again this year. Now, if you can't go, but you're just new and you're like, I still don't even have my Onyx Elite membership, you could use the promo code HTP20 and get on there. If you are an Onyx Elite member, you can go on their website and you can see a whole bunch of segments of the Upland Institute and get a hefty discount through Onyx. So I mean, the title sponsor this show takes care of me and you all year long. Gunner Kennels is coming back to Pheasant Fest. I can't wait. They're going to have their own booth. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be some Gunner products over in my area, but they're going to have their own booth over there this year. I finally talked them into saying, come on, guys. The number one kennel in the world, and you're not going to be at Pheasant Fest? W Supply won't. They were there last year. They won't be there this year, but where I'm going to tie this all in is Garmin's going to be there like they were last year, right across the aisle from us, with all the regular cast of characters from Garmin. Once you see all the new stuff that Garmin comes out with every year, from their watches to their fish finders to their, well, there's nothing there for aviation, but everything that we need as sportsmen, once you see all that at the Garmin booth, that's where you tie in to W Supply, DOUBLEU, the letter U, Supply. So it's DU Supply. You can find that easy. That's where you go to get your Garmin, because they sell more collars, and there's a reason for it, than anybody else on the planet. Canine Athlete is going to be at Pheasant Fest. They'll be giving away free samples of products for your dog and products for yourself. And I'll tell you what, by day 2, they go through some hydrate and recover samples for everybody. You don't see anybody walking around Pheasant Fest without Wilderness Athlete hydrate and recover in a water bottle, because it's a lot of fun at Pheasant Fest, and that's what we do sometimes. Mossberg's going to be there with a slew of guns, so you can sit there and say, okay, this is what Ron's talking about. Oh, this is that 410 over-under 5-pound broomstick handle 410 that he's talking about and shooting. That's where you can go to see the Mossberg lineup while you're at Pheasant Fest. Boss Shot Shells is not going to have a booth there, but I'm going to stop by Boss like I did last year. I'm going to get some posters. I'm going to get some banners. I'm going to get some stickers and some koozies and some money bags, and we're going to be able to give you some Boss bling while you're there. Purina Pro Plan's always there. They're the main sponsor of the whole dang fest. They have the bird dog stage with trainers and everything you could possibly want to learn about dogs, dog training, or, of course, Purina Pro Plan, dog food, is all going to be there. Walton's is not going to be there, but Walton's, I just wrote Jonathan a letter, an email. I shouldn't say the letter. That's how old I am. I say I wrote a letter. Like I put a stamp on it, and I wanted to wait for the Pony Express to deliver it. And believe me, getting that to Wichita could be a while. I just wrote Jonathan an email, and I'm going to have Walton's give us some products, and I'll have a QR code there for everybody that comes by the booth. So a lot of these products, a lot of my sponsors are giving away things. We'll have a whole list of them when you're there, and Walton's will have something for you. Even if they're not there, they're going to be there at our booth. And, I mean, what else can you ask for? You could ask for Marshware to have more booth space than they did last year. And they were last year they came in and they snuggled up right in our HDP area. They got a little exposure out there, but you've seen them, you've heard them on other podcasts. It's the most comfortable, I call it sporting wear. It looks like you do something outside. It's comfortable like you do something inside. It is, well, it's inside and outside. It's Marshwear. It's that low country, cool-looking camo patterns. So Marshwear is going to be there. And if you don't make it, go online. You can look up Marshwear, and you can get a promo code of HDP15 to get your first gear from Marshwear. Same thing with Walton's. If you can't come there and see me and get a catalog, get some coupons, or try to win something, you can use the promo code HDP10 on your first purchase of something that's not on sale, right? Arxis USA is going to be there. Jack will be there. Now, if you've ever been to Pheasant Fest when Jack's at our booth, which he's always at our booth, that man's going to have a shoe. He's going to sell you a pair of Arxis boots. If you walk within 5 feet of Jack, you're trying on a pair of boots, and there's a reason for it. They are the best rubber boot he could bring to this country. My four-wheel camper is going to be on the floor with the awning out, the tailgate down. You're going to see my Aldergrove dog box that they built for me a year ago inside there. You're going to see how I live on the road in the back of this camper. And if you're walking the floor with your dog, all you got to do is come by and say, "Hey, Ron, can I throw my dog in one of the kennels for a few minutes? I got to go to the bathroom. I got to find my wife. She's at some luncheon, and my dog is driving me crazy." Come by the HDP booth. We'll have a spot for your dog. I don't know how many dogs. Depends on how friendly they are. We could put 4 dogs in there. So, I mean, what else could you want? There is one other thing you could want. You could want Watermark Brewery to give me enough beer. Well, I can't give you beer while we're there because you have to buy it from the concession stand. So I'm not winking my eye here. But, well, anyway, all right, if you're traveling to Pheasant Fest from Michigan, I want you to stop at Watermark Brewery, tell them you listen to the show, and pick up some Bodega or some whatever you like. I like Bodega. I just finished my last quarter barrel. They gave me 2 quarters. I got to slow down a little bit. But I'm telling you, it's the best beer that I've ever had. And not just because it's free to the show. It is fantastic. And I'm going to go down hopefully next week or 2 before Pheasant Fest. And I'm going to sit down with Justin. We're going to tell you the whole story about, you wouldn't believe how these guys developed this place. The reason Watermark is, anyway, they're not going to be there. I'll be there. I might have some with me. And the only other thing you could do between now and then is join Patreon. It's the only other thing I could think of you doing between now and then is go to Patreon, Patreon. Go to /Hunting Dog Podcast. Become a patron of the show. You'll get extra content. You'll get videos. You're going to get Upland Institute videos all year long. Every month we're going to pull some down and put some up so you can see what that's like. And patrons get a healthy discount for the Upland Institute. I don't publish it. It's not online anywhere. All you got to do is be a patron and then write me, and we take care of you. We take care of our own. You know what I'm saying? You know, I didn't grow up in Chicago for nothing. You know what I'm saying? We wet the beak. We dip the beak a little bit, okay? I take care of my people because you are my listeners, my patrons. The rest of you are listeners, but patrons are my listeners. All right? That's it. That wasn't that bad. How long was that? Where am I at? 8 minutes, 57 seconds? Come on. I've done worse. All right. I'll be looking forward to seeing you guys at a couple. See, you knew I was going to do this. Chris Ingram's going to stop by, the guy you're going to listen to on this podcast. He's not going to be at our Hunting Dog Podcast Village, as we call it. He's not going to be there the whole time. He's going to be walking the floor, but he's going to be there. He's going to bring some preview issues of American Field Sportsman's Journal, so they'll be there on one of the bars we set up. if you haven't been to Pheasant Fest, where we've got two wooden bars, we've got Mossberg supplied bar stools. It's like an oasis. Like when you're driving down the highway and you want to stop, you got to get out, stretch your legs, go to the bathroom. Okay, you're walking around Pheasant Fest all day. Take a load off, come over to the Hunting Dog Podcast Village, sit down, take a look at the camper, pick up some stickers, pick up some koozies. We're going to have the whistles. We're going to have everything. We're going to have everything. So definitely do that. And we're going to have the Federation, Versatile Hunting Dog Federation. That's what I said. We're going to have all the guys from Federation. Their booth was originally kitty corner down the aisle from us. And we said, well, that's silly. You need to be in the big space with us, right on the end. And so if you've got questions about the Federation, Chad and crew are going to be there, and you're going to be able to find out about the best testing organization for your versatile hunting dog. And I'm not saying it's no, it is the best. There's a reason why. It's the scoring. It's the granularity of your results. It's not about getting a title. It's not about getting a prize. It's about testing a dog for hunting. Okay? It's not a game. Hunting's not a game. Hunting is a sport. You can call it a hobby, but it ain't a game. It ain't something that's just meant to be played over and over and over again. Okay? And the Federation is a testing organization that's going to get you and your dog there. Wow. Well, that turned into 11 minutes. So big surprise, big whoopee. I hope you enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed talking the history of dogs, of the UKC, of the American Field. Yeah, if you don't like this one, you're not that far. You're not that much into dogs. I love you guys. I love you girls. And I love you attendees of Pheasant Fest. Just a smidgen more. Well, not as much as patrons, but really close. All right, everybody, you've heard me say this many times. I've got a fella on the phone by the name of Chris Ingram, and you might go, who? Well, there's a reason for it, probably, right, Chris? I mean, you are not a household name at this point, but I feel you're going to be a household name as the editor of what's called American Field Sportsman's Journal. Now, I really jumped the gun on that a little bit, but Chris, tell people about American Field and the little bit of history that we've got, and then we're going to just dive into some stories and some antique stories and some field trial stories. So go ahead, take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much, Ron. So, American Field, good thing we got some time here because we're talking 151 years worth of history. So, really, the brand started back in 1874. And back then in October, outside of Memphis, Tennessee, was America's first pointing dog trial. Now, a lot of the listeners are probably top of mind because that national running is happening this week down where the National Bird Dog Museum is too. So, you had your trial. Of course, you had to report on it. You got to start cataloging these dogs and their pedigrees and stud dog ads and so on.
Right.
So that became the early iterations of what is now called the American Field, the publication. Used to be a weekly newspaper, not just the ads and the reports, but they encompassed a lot to do with the sportsman's lifestyle, fishing stories, trap shooting leagues, all those things that we know and love now, just
Right.
in a newspaper form. So you said you got the sport, you've got the reporting, the publishing company that started in Chicago, Illinois, or I should say landed really in Chicago. And then a lot of the listeners are probably familiar as well with the Field Dog Stud Book. So that sort of became the registry that was a part of this bundle. And I think relationships had formed between American Field and the United Kennel Club, which we'll get into in a minute here too, because just very aligned with what they're doing with the sport, their audience, the legacy, history, all of that. So as folks are starting to find out, back in September of 2021, American Field was purchased by the United Kennel Club based in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So again, I mentioned all those different components of this bundle have now been integrated into our business, and the FDSB is shared sort of a dual privilege registry with ours. The sport is in our hunting operations. What used to be the weekly American Field is now a monthly newsletter that we call the UKC Field for those trial customers. So what was left over was this legacy title of the American Field Sportsman's Journal. And made good sense that with everything that UKC does with all the different types of dogs and really focused on performance, I was brought on last year to sort of rebrand and to relaunch this publication. So that's we're right at the cusp of that, and so super excited to share what we're doing and just talk hunting dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking up a little history too. As far, even with the UKC, UKC's no baby either. 1898. So, I mean, do you know offhand, Chris, if it was always in Kalamazoo or was it somewhere else? Do you know?
Yeah, it's a good question. And so just to back up a little bit too, I think
Yeah.
everybody's familiar with AKC, the
Sure.
American Kennel Club, and we've been around almost just as long. Perhaps we're a little bit smaller. From what I understand, we do dogs, worldwide and with the registration side as well. But yeah, so we've been doing that. I want to say that it might have been the first or second place. I can't recall, Ron, if it had always been in Kalamazoo, but the office that we've got there is a bunker, with all of the registration paperwork, archival materials.
Yeah.
It's a
You're like,
lot.
you
It's
should be moving that down to the Smithsonian so nothing happens to it. I mean, I'm sure
yeah.
fire protection systems in place, but I've been to the office before back in the day. In fact, it was funny in construction. There was a company named oh, what the hell? It was called Tyler's Supply, and it was on Kilgore Street. Okay. And I remember going for a meeting, for a job site meeting, to their office, and I saw the United Kennel Club. I'm like, whoa, and I don't think this probably predates a mutual friend of ours, Todd Kellum, who's been at UKC for decades. But I think I literally went and knocked on the door, and I think I think they gave me a brochure. So they were nice. I was just like, I've heard of this, but back in I wouldn't say back in the day, they've always been known for um, the competition and the registry of certainly the houndsmen of especially the coon dog world. And so like besides the fact that how the hell they put out a magazine every week before there was, telephone line. I don't know how the hell they did that. I'm sure it was a week or two behind. They must have been mailing in their stories and their results, right? I can't even imagine what it was like. But then UKC came up with coonhound bloodlines in the 20s. And I always give at least the coonhound people, and I actually have my next door neighbor, believe it or not, and you'd probably recognize this name. His father owned two of the most famous walker dogs in Michigan. And his son lives next to me. And I've literally never met his dad. His dad is in his 80s. He still runs coonhounds. And the people especially in the coonhound world, they could recite pedigrees like a pastor could recite Psalms. You know what I mean? You ever meet
Yeah,
them?
that's wild.
They
Yeah.
they'll go, oh yeah, that's out of Susie, who was out of Betty, who was out of Joy. Now Joy was a half sister to Betty's dad. I mean, these guys are like,
Yeah.
and that's what I love about the history of dogs. And I used to get American Field on Saturdays through the 90s and when it was still, pretty popular. And like you too, I didn't read every result of everything, but I was just like, oh, that was near me. Oh, that was out in Ionia, Michigan. I got to go out there sometime and see it. I think people who just hunt birds are kind of missing something when they don't understand the history behind it, you know.
Yeah, that's right. And again with this merger here and sort of disseminating those different components, maybe raise some questions or so on. And we're doing what I feel a very good job of sort of bearing the torch of this legacy brand and keeping that American field trial system intact. And
Yeah.
I've got specific field trial department every issue for that.
Yeah.
But so I don't feel, like I'm under the gun too much. Hey, look back at what the original American field was. I've got copies from before the 1900s and, grouse hunting in Pennsylvania. And,
Yeah.
they used to rent the box trucks on the train and they would eat out of cans and sleep under the stars. And, just these legendary stories of everything that you did in this sporting lifestyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably the only real big difference at the turn of the century was the only guys that could afford to do it were doctors and lawyers. I mean,
That's right.
a lot of people working for them, they had people running their kennels and people breeding, but the American field literally kept track of every stitch of that information. I mean, right down, you think now we can just go online and look it all up, right down to the names and the colors and the ages and the winnings, even the dollar winnings. Like, I mean, so American Field Sportsman's Journal was not going to go down that rabbit hole because, I mean, you would need the Chicago Tribune crew to keep that
Yeah.
going. But you sent me the preview issue. Now, this is going to start coming out in 2025 as a quarterly, correct?
Yes,
Uh,
that's right, Ron. So, we wanted to sort of put out a sample teaser, if you will, just to show what we're doing because I think, breaking the mold, maybe breaking some rules here. And
yeah.
it's one thing to kind of talk about, but wanted to get this out there. We've got a premium quality product in hand, and the content just goes from A to Z. But you're right, we are going to be sort of our inaugural relaunch with issue number one. Our spring 25 issue will be coming out at the end of March. So we're putting that to bed over these next few weeks and excited to talk about it and, just drum up more interest. But you're right, it's going to be 100-page quarterly, so 4 times a year, kind of fit with the different seasons. Just starting with basic subscription model. We'll get into the newsstand and do the wholesale and retail and all that as time goes along. But yeah, like I said, going back to some of the original roots of the American field, heck, they even used to, I believe, register beagles and coonhounds in the FDSB. So, nothing completely new. Although I feel really good about what we're doing with the American Field publication now is we're bringing all of those different dog groups together, all those
Yeah.
different user groups. So, I mean, literally sections for field trial, bird dogs, retrievers, hounds, beagles. And then I'm excited to talk about other working dogs, tracking dogs, terriers, turkey dogs, just the off the wall things. We're not going to get too heavy into, the how-tos and the training of specifics. It's going to be more focused on personal narratives and storytelling. We're going to bring back humor and art and poetry and just really showcase that life that we have with our dogs. And I think our timing is impeccable with just different hunting rights and dog rights on the chopping block. User groups pitted against each other at times. But it's cool to very much align with that UKC mentality. The dog looks the part, plays the part, and dogs that do more. They
Yeah.
perform, they conform, they do all that. So excited to kind of talk about versatile dogs or, doing different things, getting different family members involved. And like you, Ron, thinking about the long-term plans of who's gonna be there when we're in the ground and to carry this legacy on.
Right.
So yeah.
We gotta build that passion up. We said before record that, and this could be me being a bit of an old curmudgeon with a young soul. Um, I told you there's probably a dozen people I've met over past 10 years of doing this podcast. And when I die, my three daughters are not going to come here and take all my plaques and trophies and mementos and nor are my three son-in-laws. So I want this place to be cleaned out of every little artifact and go on that person's, basement wall, den wall, man cave, the most popular term these days. Mine's really a man kennel, I guess mine would be, because
Nice, nice.
the dogs are all on the other side over here and they're all being nice and quiet.
Mm.
Uh, but no, that I just love the history of the dogs and this is just a personal like hope, like you said you're going to bring a lot more to the magazine. That it's not going to be the how-to, because there's plenty of them right now. I think
Yep.
when you read that lyrical story, I think that's what fires you up, you know. And like you have a story in this preview issue called "The Right Way," by Josh Tatum, and he's hunting late season sharptails with what looks to be a white German Shepherd. I
Yeah,
don't,
that's about right.
and I just read that story before we came on. I was thumbing through the other ones. Yeah, it covers retrievers, hounds, tree dogs, and this is just this issue. Beagles, and for coming full circle. I love the idea of it. I'm totally.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I don't read too much how to. Of course, I could use to once in a while, every once in a while. But I love the history. I think this is like, if I had a wish for there in every quarterly issue, that you'd pull some old story from the 1920s out of American Field and just reprint it. Because I bet you there's some gems in there, like,
Oh,
oh,
there really is, and the writing itself. Now I'm an editor. I geek out on the literary works and the history of that. The just the way they wrote. If you've ever read like Burton Spiller or some of these classic writers, it's just fun. They talk differently. They wrote differently. They cared some about different things than we do now, but ultimately the dogs and the birds, the shotguns, everything was
and the
there, like
camaraderie.
culture.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and I'm super excited too, Ron, because yeah, when I kind of got my start in the hunting world like later in life, or like a reactivated hunter, and I had just moved to Vermont at the time and didn't know anybody, have a mentor, so I got my subscription to Gundog, to Wildfowl, to Retriever Journal, and oh my gosh, the photos, the stories.
Yeah.
You can learn how to do something from anything now, but to have this like immersive experience, and you can be catapulted into the moment with the photos and the text there. And I'm excited too because we're sort of forging this path. I'm lucky to be in this position to put it all together, but interested to hear from folks. What are they missing in contemporary print media? What are they looking for? The humor is a big one. So we're
Yeah.
going to be rolling out a humor column. The archives are super popular, and I mean, we're sitting on 151 years worth of materials. I literally found the anthology from 1875 and dusted it off to take a peek in the
Oh,
basement, Kalamazoo. I mean, just incredible.
time you
And
come to Kalamazoo, let me know. We got to come down,
yeah,
and we'll just
yeah,
do like a walking tour of
yeah,
because that's got it. Yeah.
yeah.
To me, it'd be like
There's
going
so
to the
much.
best antique store in the world, but it would be everything I want to see and read. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think they had to load a semi trailer when they did the purchase and went to Chicago to get all the archives, all the materials. That the American Field Publishing Company did the Stud Dog book, and they did
Right.
yearbooks, and I think even just book printings, all those things. So yeah, we'll get you down there. Plan for some time down there. We'll get Todd in and we'll geek out on that. But yeah, so we're kind of figuring out as we go along. Would love to hear from customers and readers and interested folks. Again, I'll touch on too. I have journal in my title, so I'm trying to differentiate ourselves as more of like a literary assemblage, a collection of materials. I am not starting out with column writers. Every issue is going to have different bylines between the covers. We have to when we're covering, every type of hunting dog group. We're always going to have different perspectives. It's not again experts and professionals. We'll seed those in too, but also to provide a platform for the everyday hunter, the person that's just getting started. And all that. Wanted to say too that aside from just the dogs, I've got departments on conservation, wild game cooking, hunting dog health, written by DVMs, guns and game shooting. We've got some of those playful stories, different sections too, like just this really wide range diversity of hunting dog content every quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be exciting, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to this issue, or the issues coming out. And I was going to ask you, as an editor, that doesn't make you a writer, right? And that is it's I mean, you probably can write way better than I can write a story. And if I ever submit one, believe me, I've submitted some stories for other publications, and I have to send it to a professional writer who's a friend of mine, and he fixes it because you would not want to see my first draft. But going with it again,
Yeah.
I'm sure people will figure out, but you want them to know that like there's no such thing as a bad story, like to submit it, not to be afraid to say maybe they're not looking to be a writer per se their whole life, but they're like, God, I'd love to tell the story of my first hunt with my grandpa, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll people at least be able to, if nothing else, submit and it'll be looked at. But your job as an editor, do you have to go over everything as an editor yourself? Like, I don't know what that means when you're the editor. Are you the grand poobah? You just say nope, yep, or is it a team, or are you solo there 24 hours a day and not sleeping?
Yeah, so very much I'm doing a lot of that, the editing, the publishing, the promoting. This is sort of a new foray for the United Kennel Club into editorial. We've done bloodlines, we've done
Yeah,
the
yeah,
field, and we print the hunting retriever for those field to hunt test customers. But that's very much more of a sort of a bulletin, a play-by-play of the results, events, things like that. So. Yeah, as the editor, I'm making all of those high level decisions, and I work with Todd a lot. Who's an amazing consultant. He's a setter man, a bird dog man. So he's also been at UKC for like 30 plus years, so he knows the
nice.
ins and outs, every side of it. But that's the job, Ron, is I'm sort of just kind of seeing what's out there, tapped into everything. And what's cool is I got into hunting dogs about 14 years ago when I moved to Vermont and started like hunting. And
Mhm.
it went from retrievers to bird dogs to beagles to hounds to squirrel dogs to everything else. So it's kind of been this like unintended sort of going through. So I know a little bit about everything. And
Right.
as you can imagine, I mean, I have to know a little bit about everything. So it's just being tapped in, seeing what's out there, and trying to sort of curate this issue and have a really well balanced. I've got enough of all those different user groups, a little bit of something for everybody, every issue. But it's also getting out on social and starting a YouTube channel and, you know, promoting and getting the word out there. But I just, again, I feel super blessed to be in this position too. Like I enjoy writing and I like telling stories, but I want to just be the at the end of the funnel to put this all together to help hunting dog enthusiasts, do what they do better and enjoy that lifestyle just a little bit more. And again, perhaps, as like an ancillary benefit of like this uniting of our brothers and sisters in the hunting dog community to
Right.
where like, you go out west and the lion hunters or you go down south and the deer doggers, like some of those lifestyles are, I mean, on threat to be eliminated.
Oh yeah.
Um,
They're not riding, they're not shitting in high cotton. No,
no.
they're trying to drive below the rate. I know a guy who had a dog box built because just where he lives out west, this really great company built me a custom dog box for the back of my camper. And I was in his shop. It's actually a stainless steel uh, shop that makes a lot of things for restaurants and everything, but he's got like a little side gig going there. And I said, that's a dog box? He goes, yeah, this guy doesn't want anybody to know he's out running his dogs. I mean, and that's that's a shame in itself. Like, I remember my first dog box. I got an Uplander out of Indiana and not far from Kalamazoo. And that thing was on I'd leave the tailgate down, make sure the locks were on. I wanted people to see them, and to think that somebody would have to kind of hide it and be clandestine. Yeah, we can't let that happen.
It is unfortunate, and I think, and perhaps for good reason, the hound hunters have sort of tried to stay in the shadows. If you stay out of the public eye, you don't have anything to worry
Right.
about. However, now like that's not the case, and sometimes we're literally fighting to preserve those. I mean, even here where I live in Vermont, there's the potential of a really, really bad dog bill to come into the state house that would make it nearly impossible,
Yeah.
certainly not enjoyable to hunt with dogs. So just like awareness and different things, in this relaunch issue, I have a story of how houndsmen are supporting wildlife conservation. So you might be a bird hunter, a
On your
beagler, but
radar. It does, you don't think of
yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. And again too, just to see, you've got a versatile dog and you're looking for an off-season activity, you're looking to extend the season, you know, um, talking shed dogs or tracking dogs or,
Yep.
all these different things you can just like do more with your dog.
Yeah.
There's so much, and I know Ron, like you've sort of gone through different breeds. A lot of us sort of start in one place and migrate through the different classes or types of dogs in our hunting careers. So this will be a cool way to just kind of see what everybody else is up to. Yeah,
Yeah. You never know what story you'll read to be like, damn it. I didn't even know that happened. I didn't even know anybody did that, you know?
that's right. Yeah,
Um,
or like turkey dogs. I'll
yeah.
make a blend here between maybe you've heard of droppers and this name. Like if you're in field trials or know about history, there used to be this like type of dog called a dropper. And not being an expert, but as I understand, it was sort of like a pointer setter cross. And I don't know if it was like intended or what happened, but anyways, I don't know if you know much about these like true American turkey dogs. A lot
Nope.
of them, what they're using their droppers, like I think they sort of evolved out of being these like bird dog rejects. They opened on track or opened on birds, and you know, in Virginia they discovered like, hey, these would be a really great turkey hunting dog.
Yeah.
And to preserve that, like there's a few lines left. There's a small number of ardent turkey dog hunters. I actually got to go on a hunt in Michigan this past fall. We'll be talking about that
Is
in
it
an
with Tracy
upcoming
Green
issue.
by any chance?
Not with Tracy, and I'm sorry I didn't quite make it up that way, and we'll have to do it another time. But got another friend from the Midwest that does some traveling with his dropper dogs, and we happened to link up when I was in town and put a hunt together.
In case everybody's going, duh, what? I'll give Tracy a little shout out. I don't know the
Yeah,
fellow I hunted with, but he he also got his dogs from Virginia. So that was that line of dog. You could not tell what breed of dog this is when you see one, right? But it all comes from hunting stock. And what they'll do in the fall in Michigan, it's legal. It's not legal everywhere, but in Michigan, Tracy will take this dog out and he'll just watch him on his Garmin. And when that dog comes upon a flock, it's usually a young flock with a hen or um, that dog will bust him up, and you can see. And when he told me this, you could see on his Garmin like the dog started running like my English cocker, almost like a Tasmanian devil, like chasing that one, chasing this one, coming back, chasing this one, literally putting them all out, like getting everyone. It'd be like trying to get a flock of sharp tails off the ground that didn't want to fly. And that dog makes them go. And then Tracy comes in, sits down by a tree. The dog goes into basically, I'm being sarcastic, a grocery bag, a little camouflage bag, so to speak, or burlap, and then they wait for the birds to come back. Now I'm telling you, I'm not a turkey hunter in the spring. I've shot 2 spring turkeys in my life. It's fun. Okay. But I tell you what, Tracy has a lot more fun with them dogs doing their job to get them turkeys. And I'll bet you so many people don't know that even exists.
it was, I mean, I've seen some stellar dogs, pointing dogs and treeing hounds and so on, but it's almost like this turkey dog, you get a little bit of everything from them because you cast them out, they do their searches and, they sort of check in like any pointer.
Yeah.
Half of these, are half pointers. Like they sort of do that and then they go up over the rise and you sort of lose them a little bit. They're ranging out. And the next thing you know, when they get into a flock, it's like a hound, it's like a pack of tree dogs just,
Right.
aggressively treeing a bear. And then once you get set up, you move into the break site and then it becomes a standard turkey hunt where you're
Right.
just back against a tree. And I mean, this dog, I mean, on our hunt, it was an hour from breakup until that first bird started coming back in, and that dog sat motionless and
Yeah.
quiet. I mean, it was amazing
That's a
to
good
see.
dog. You think about it. You can't take your average dog and do that. You really can't.
No,
And
no.
that's where it's like everybody knows German short hairs and pointers and setters, but there's so much more out there, I had a rare breed. I still got a couple of them. I don't brag about them. I had a couple good ones. Um, and it was their demeanor. It was just their demeanor that hooked me. I was okay with being like, oh yeah, he's not gonna last all day and he might not go 400 yards in early season. But my God, this dog had a person. Like it's even down to the personalities of the dogs. And these days, I don't know many people that do what I mean, my dogs are still kennel dogs. When I'm on the road, they sleep in bed with me. When I'm at my place in Virginia, they sleep in bed with me. When I'm at home, they all sleep in their kennel on their own bed. They all get their own beds. But, you know, more and more dogs today, and I'll bet you probably every dog in your magazine, the preview magazine, bet you every one of them. And I know that Josh's did. He rides shotgun in the truck. You know, everybody like, oh, the dog should be in a kennel. Come on, my dogs ride shotgun and they're my kids.
Yep.
You know, they're
That's
my
right.
extended family. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, bringing all them stories to light, something I don't know if you've had an opportunity to, even though I've been in Virginia off and on for over 15 years now. I've never got to hunt deer with dogs, and I find that you'll hear deer hunters like, my God, no, but like, no, that's historical. I'd love to see that someday, and I imagine you'll have it in an issue someday.
Yeah, well, keep your eyes and ears open for the winter 25 issue. It's in the works already because again, we have a place where, I'm not really bound by anything. I mean, I feel like I'm breaking some cardinal rules trying to put these different user groups together. So hell, if I'm going to break some rules, we're doing all of them.
Break them,
But
break them.
but that's it, and again, I mean the deer doggers, the hog doggers, I got out with some terrier hunters and to just, you know, put some of these really obscure sort of overlooked, misunderstood, yeah, even within our hunting dog community, misunderstood, and to just shine the light, to show, hey, we have more in common than we do
Right.
different, or being set apart. So yeah, and just hearing from individuals, their dogs, their stories. Again, we're very focused on personal narratives, and wanted to share too that I've got like a section every issue for like reader short essays. I want to touch on that because I call it first and last. It's an idea I've had for a really long time. And, we all have those first moments, whether it's the first point, the first test, pick whatever it is.
Yeah.
We all celebrate those. It's universal. Whatever type of dog you have, whatever background you come from, we all celebrate that experience.
Yeah.
And then conversely, we have those last experiences, last time with a family member, last time with the dog, whatever it might be. And so a chance, for readers to put their stories in print and just commemorate them, forever in pages in print.
Yeah. I have when I do a talk, which maybe a couple times a year, I'll do it for Pheasants Forever or Quail Forever or RGS. And on my website, and I actually made this up. So I don't believe I stole this from anybody. And if I did, too bad. I've been using it and no one's challenged me. I have a saying at the end of when I do a talk, and I say, for me, it's about the dogs and people I know, the dogs and people I've yet to meet, and the dogs and people that I've lost.
That.
And that's what your first and last is. Like you never forget the first, you're never gonna forget, but there's a whole bunch you haven't met yet. And that's kind of what keeps you waking up in the morning. And like I don't care about getting all the bird species in North America. I've only shot maybe 8, There's a lot more than that. I'm not gonna go chasing ptarmigan in Alaska anymore. My knees are too old. Probably not going to go to Arizona unless I'm with my friend who's going to take me there. But I like going to the places. Like to me, like a new little town, especially when you get, now didn't I hear you were on Nick's, are you from Wisconsin?
Yep, originally from Wisconsin. Yep.
And people know me. I am known for if you looked in the encyclopedia and said bird hunter, beer drinker, my picture would be it. Okay. Wisconsin is my favorite state in the world because every town's got a Pabst ribbon or an old style shingle. And that bar has been in that town. Like the stories that bar could tell, I think that's what your magazine's going to tell those stories.
Mm. Yeah, well, we might have to do some birdie beer towns or
Oh,
something
we
like
bring a
that.
tip.
Yeah,
PF can do the Rooster Road trip. We'll do
that's
the
right.
Wisconsin Tavern trip.
Yeah, looking for sponsors already. I can hear it now.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I'm on that stuff. We can get I bet you we can get Line and Kugel to jump on. They help me
Oh,
out.
we better be quick. I heard some things might be happening at that historic company.
Oh, really? Ooh,
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of things in life.
things
Things
change.
change over time. That's it. Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes full circle to like that could have happened to American Field, but
Well, it almost did.
it
And
almost
and I
did. And
Yeah, essentially, again, not being at the table of those business meetings there, but from what I understand, again, American Field and United Kennel Club been in talks for a while, not in talks, but had a relationship for quite a
right,
while because of just a similar interest and values and customer base. So, um, essentially what happened to the American field is when COVID hit, like many things in the
right,
world, it ceased publication. The workforce, the distribution, I mean, even just sourcing materials, like it completely shut it down. American Field did go to digital, but it wasn't very much long after that, again, I don't know all the details, but for
right.
the reasons that played out, there was a discussion and there was an acquisition to the United Kennel Club. And I think American Field really is sort of that upper echelon of pointing dog field trials. You go to an American Field event, you're going to see the dog trailers next to horse trailers, and
Right.
you're going to see, professional full-time handlers. It is much different than going to a NAVTA test or,
Yeah, you go to
even NASTRA. I mean,
right. You go there and you can count on the fact that half the people there are there for the first time. You go to a field trial, if you could just turn the microphone on after a field trial, I would get stories for the podcast for the next year because
yeah.
it's nothing but history. And I mean, sure, there's always a new person that gets into it and says, all right, I'm going to get a horse trailer. In fact, I got my first horse because I went to a field trial in Fenville, Michigan. And I thought my friend said it was going to be a field trial. So let's go check it out. And all we saw was horse trailers. And then we saw the dogs coming out of the little compartments and we watched it from the gallery. We didn't have horses. We couldn't walk along with them. But that that spurred me into like, I want to do this. And I literally got myself a Tennessee Walker and I took riding lessons. So you just
Wow.
don't know when you see something. Only problem with me, Chris, is I found out that I was actually afraid of horses. Like as hard as I tried to like, all right, come on, let me get this saddle on you. A horse is worse than a dog. Boy, if a horse doesn't want anything to do with you, and if you're a horse person, it's a piece of cake, you know. I the entry level to field trials is not easy. Is not easy. And I'm glad to see that that's still alive, at least in the monthly publication and obviously stories in the new journal. But yeah, I've always been that person. Kind of the grass is always greener, and that's why I've tried a lot of breeds. My problem is I fall in love with everything and I fail at a few. But that's hunting too. That's hunting.
That's it. Oh, yeah, that's life. Go with it. Yep.
Where do you have any? I don't want to say trips. Everybody's got trips planned. Are your trips now going to be based around getting content, or can you still get out and just take a week long hunting trip? Or is your work going to be like my work as a podcaster? Like, well, if I go here, I'll get some content.
Little bit of both, and quite frankly, it really works out well. Of course, being based in Michigan, UKC HQ, a lot of opportunities there. A lot of what we do with our hunting operations, all the different sports, HRC, beagles, squirrel dogs, everything is mostly centered in the Midwest there. But yeah, I mean, I had a couple of trips this last fall. Got a couple more things on the radar, and it's just like what you find into along the way, who you see.
Yeah.
And I mean, just, talk about a great position for us to be in to, well, geez, we got to go out and get content and, do those things. So, but yeah, it'll be a little bit of both, kind of picking and choosing what I want to do, what I'd like to see. There are some, like we said, with the deer dogs or whatever that needs to kind of be dusted off and shown some light. So, my hope is to just do it justice, do it the right way, help to get some people behind this, build some awareness, even some of these like rare breeds, I think, like the Teckles or, golly, I can't even just think of some of these, but to just keep them alive, as we've said,
Right.
you got to have the interest, you got to have the next gen. So,
Yeah, I didn't find out till I don't know, maybe 3, 4 years ago. I'm really well versed in the versatile breeds, the continental versatile breeds. And a guy told me about a German Spaniel. And I was kind of like, Germans didn't develop a Spaniel. Oh, yeah, they did. You
Wow.
know,
Wow.
and I think it's a Wachtelhund, I think is what it is.
Okay. Okay.
And it's like, I'm already thinking, like, do I need one of those?
Yeah. Right.
But I still can't get my little cocker to sit still. So I don't know if I'm ready for another flesher. But what kind of dog what do you have in your household right now, Chris?
Yeah, sure. So we lost our house dog, a little toy poodle of 17 years. So that was, I guess, the only hunting dog, not exactly hunting dog, but in the Ingram household. So, like I said, I've had the privilege of not having to feed and train and test and travel with dogs. I just kind of pick and choose like a grandparent, what I want to go out and do with.
Yeah,
So
you feed them,
it's
I'll
been kind of
spoil
nice.
them. You take
That's
them.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and the nice thing is too is like when I was working at Gundog, I got ate up with squirrel dogs, and I thought, how's this going to work? And
Hmm.
but so I've had the privilege and the pleasure to sort of go around these different user groups and get behind all different types of dogs. I mean, even living here in Vermont, there's just a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
if you'd have asked me what dog should be or would be in my kennel, it'd been a different answer for the last 5, 6 years. So, but.
Are you gonna eventually you don't want to take the path of Travis Frank. You don't want to be, the host of a television show that he finally got a dog, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna force your hand. If
Yep.
God came down tomorrow and said, Chris, you need a hunting dog,
Yeah.
what's it gonna be?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope we can still talk after this, but I've been really interested in the Feist line of squirrel dogs.
That's nothing wrong with
So,
that.
but
Yep.
number two has been the the English Springer Spaniels. I've got a friend here
Oh,
who you had on, Patrick Barry,
yeah.
wicked setter guy, and it's just the type of covers that I hunt here for grouse and woodcock with a nice close working spaniel. Oh my gosh! I mean, it's heaven on earth.
I, I can't agree with you more. I developed a friendship with some listeners in South Dakota. And when I go do my hosted hunt, which is anytime you're at a lodge in South Dakota, it's a fun hunt. It's blockers, pushers, flankers. It's fun, absolutely fun. But when I get done with that, I go to Eastern South Dakota, and my friend Connor's got an English Springer Spaniel, and that thing is just a workhorse. And I can tell you all the people I've judged in versatile tests, the one thing we all panic about is that dog's running off, or he's just so rangy until you get used to it, or until you get the brakes and the blinkers put on it. And this is I could get some comments for this one. You could take an English Cocker or an English Springer Spaniel, and probably the one thing, I'm not saying they will never run away, but you pretty much got a dog that's like ready to work for you, you know, and watching their level of close work, it's amazing. It's just amazing. So I'm going, all right, Feist first. Then after you get the Feist all trained up and you're a famous squirrel dog hunter, then I'll help you, or heck, you happen to work for UKC. So I probably don't have to help you find an English Springer Spaniel. But if you need help, I'll be there.
Well, we'll check in on that. Yeah. Yeah. And then third to the list, I'm really interested in the pack hounds. I've chased bear here. Would be interested to do like some bobcat hunting.
Yeah.
There's just something about running with the hounds and that hard tree, and it's intense. So, but I think that's it. Is with what we're doing here at American Field is just showcase these different lifestyles, the history,
Mhm.
the different passions, and just kind of help advocate for these different sporting elements and different user groups. And yeah,
Well, I think this is going to be a huge hit. Now, not that I'm not a little prejudiced because I'm in Michigan and I'm rooting for UKC, of course, but I'm really looking forward to this coming out 4 times a year. And um, I don't know if you had a promo code, but if not, we're going to set something up for my listeners that they could get. I imagine something you want to get people hooked, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
I should say that you're planning on coming to Pheasant Fest. this
Mhm.
year.
Yep.
So I'm not saying you're going to be you're going to be walking the floor and talking to everybody, but you know, a lot of my listeners come and I meet it's the fun thing about Pheasant Fest. It's like a family reunion. You know, you
Sure.
see the cousins that they have to remind you that they're your cousin or that they're your listener, but um, you'll bring a stack of the preview issues out there, and if somebody sees you at the booth, they might want to say, they might want to slip you their first story, and
Absolutely.
you can give it a read and say, you know what, you might have something here if you can learn to punctuate.
Well, that's my job
That's
is to
your job.
help. That's my job. That's what they pay me for to put it all together and to do the copy edits and that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Fest this year, and I'll be there representing American Field and kind of working the floor, help promote the brand. We're not quite set up to have our booth space. You can count on us being there next year,
Yeah.
but we'll definitely be there with flyers and cards and have some sample issues for folks to get a little taste of what that is.
Yeah.
And absolutely, Ron, would love to extend an offer with a special code to your listeners here. And we can give that here, but again, just to sort of mention, we're working on the inaugural relaunch, sort of issue number one of the all new American Field. Folks have a couple weeks to get their subscriptions in to get on that list because that'll be mailing sort of late March into April. And then
Right.
from there, it'll be quarterly. And like I said, all the different types of dogs will be represented each issue plus more, and all those different elements of the sporting lifestyle. And we're still rolling things out. So, would love to get some feedback,
Yeah.
have folks contact me. I'll give my info. Get in touch. Would love to hear what we're doing well, what else you'd like to see. This is very much going to be a brand for the people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Why don't you give that out so I can put it in some show notes and I can put it on an Instagram post and send it to I'll send it to my Patreon group and I'll send it to my email list. But for people who just listen and be like, oh, they got their ears perked up. What do they do?
Sure. So we've got a website and it's
Okay.
journal.americanfield.com. So with that subdomain and there you can find about the brand, our history, the publication. There's a chance to contribute, advertise, contact us, learn everything that you need to know. My information is on there, but you can also email me at editor@americanfield.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook, started YouTube. Find all the information there, connect with us, share along. And then that discount code that we're going to extend to the listeners here is Hunting Dog Podcast. So when you get on the website and you go to checkout, enter Hunting Dog Podcast, and we're going to have you save 20% on a 1 year subscription and 30% on a 2 year subscription. So really appreciate being out here, getting in front of your audience, and yeah, can't wait for folks to check it out and let us know what they think.
All right. Well, Chris, what we'll do is we'll wrap it up here, but I'm going to say March, April. We're going to stay in touch. I'm going to see you at Pheasant Fest, but because of having such a long relationship with Todd Kellum at UKC, seriously, the next time you're in and I know you'll be busy when you're in, but let's find a couple hours and let's walk through the archives. I would love to we could do a walking podcast. I'll bring a remote clip on and we're just going to walk around because if that doesn't stir somebody up, I'm telling you what, they don't have a soul. They don't have a soul.
Yeah, we'll put together a whole issue down there. We'll make it work. Absolutely. I love that idea.
That's going to be fun. All right, Chris, thanks for coming on. Everybody, look at that. Give that journal website again.
Yep, it's journal.americanfield.com.
.com. Okay. I expect some people to start digging into that when this comes out. Super Bowl's over, so you got nothing else to do except get ready for next hunting season. And reading about hunting seasons in general and dogs is a great way to kill some time in the off season. Real
It
quick,
sure is.
you have a history with Gun Dog magazine.
Mhm.
Did issues go up or down during hunting seasons? I always wonder, like, do people get into it and like, oh, I got to get that magazine because I see it on the rack or the shelf, or do you find that people are so busy hunting you start wondering what happened to our subscription rates. Does it go secular or is it steady?
I dare speak for any one publication, but from what I've seen, it surges, it goes up. I mean, you're talking social website, all of the different participation goes up because it's top of mind. People are making choices, looking for things to do. You betcha, it goes up. But I mean, let's face it, this lifestyle doesn't turn off during the off season, so there's
That
always something to do.
that's what this is about. It's about our lifestyle.
That's it.
All right, Chris, thanks for coming on.
You bet. Thanks so much, Ron.